BYD Hybrid System, BYD DM-i technology, Toyota Hybrid Engineering. Watch this all the way to the end because I am going to show you the leaked internal document that proves Toyota's engineers have been quietly studying BYD's system for the last 2 years, and what they concluded will surprise you. If you think Toyota builds the best hybrids in the world, you need to hear what BYD is doing in China that is making Toyota engineers genuinely nervous. BYD is now the largest electric vehicle manufacturer in the world, bigger than Tesla in total sales. But here is what most people outside of China do not know. BYD also makes some of the most advanced hybrid systems on the planet, and they have engineered a solution to one of the biggest problems in hybrid design that Toyota legally cannot copy because BYD owns the patents. I am not talking about theory or marketing claims. I spent weeks going through BYD's actual patents, watching engineering teardowns, and comparing this system to what Toyota and Honda are doing. And what I found shocked me. BYD has built a plug-in hybrid that is simpler in some ways, more efficient in real-world use, and potentially more flexible than anything Toyota or Honda currently sells. Let me walk you through how I figured this out and why it matters, even if you will never buy a BYD, because this engineering is going to influence the next generation of hybrids from every manufacturer. So here's the problem every hybrid has to solve. You have a gasoline engine, you have one or more electric motors, you have a battery, and somehow you need to blend all of that together so the car is efficient in the city, efficient on the highway, and does not feel weird to drive. That is harder than it sounds. Toyota's solution, which they've been refining since 1997, is the eCVT. It uses a planetary gear set to mechanically split power between the engine and 2 motor generators. No belts, no clutches, just gears and electronics. It's brilliant because it's simple and durable. You see Prius models with 300,000 miles on the original transmission all the time. Honda's approach is different. In their newer system, the electric motor drives the wheels most of the time, and the gasoline engine connects directly through a clutch only at highway speeds. It feels more like a regular car, but that clutch is a wear item. At high mileage, it can fail, and the repair is expensive. BYD looked at both of those systems and said, what if we rethink the whole thing? What BYD built is called the DM-i system. It stands for Dual Mode Intelligent, and it's been in production since around 2021. It's already in hundreds of thousands of cars. The BYD Kin Plus, the Song Plus, the Han. These are not concept cars. These are real vehicles on the road right now in China and other markets. Here's the genius part, and this is where it gets interesting. Most hybrids, including Toyota's, are what I call engine primary designs. The gasoline engine is the heart of the system, and the electric motor helps it. Even in a Prius, the engine is always part of the equation when you're driving above a certain speed because of how the planetary gears work. BYD completely flipped that. The system is motor primary. The electric motor is the main thing moving the car. The gasoline engine is basically a smart generator that kicks in only when the battery needs charging or when you need maximum power. The rest of the time, it's off and completely disconnected. Now you might be thinking, that's just a range extender, like the old Chevy Volt. Not quite. The Volt's engine couldn't directly drive the wheels in most situations. BYD's can. The engine can provide power mechanically when needed, but it does it through a single-speed gear and a clutch, and only when the system decides it is more efficient to do so. Most of the time, it doesn't bother. It just generates electricity and lets the motor do the work. Why does this matter? Because it gives BYD incredible flexibility. The engine can run at its most efficient RPM range, completely independent of how fast the car is going. It doesn't have to speed up and slow down with the vehicle. It just runs at the sweet spot, charges the battery, and shuts off. That's why BYD's plug-in hybrids get insane fuel economy, even when the battery is depleted. Let me give you real numbers. The BYD Kin Plus, which is about the size of a Camry, gets around 3.8 liters per 100 kilometers in hybrid mode. That translates to about 62 miles per gallon. The Toyota Camry hybrid gets around 52 miles per gallon. That's a significant difference. And here's the kicker.
When you plug in the BYD, it has up to 120 kilometers of pure electric range. That's about 75 miles. The Toyota Prius Prime gets 44 miles of electric range. The RAV4 Prime gets 42 miles. BYD is nearly doubling what Toyota offers. How are they doing this? Two things. First, the motor primary architecture means the car can stay in electric mode much longer because the engine doesn't have to be mechanically engaged. Second, BYD makes their own batteries. They're a battery company first. They've been making lithium iron phosphate batteries for years, and they can pack more energy into the same space at lower cost than most competitors. Now let me tell you about the other genius part. BYD designed an engine specifically for this system. It's called the Xiaoyun engine, and it's not like a regular car engine. Most hybrid engines, even Toyotas, still have to work as regular engines. They have to accelerate the car on their own if needed. They have to operate across a wide RPM range. BYD said, forget that. Our engine only has one job: generate electricity as efficiently as possible. So they tuned it to run in a very narrow, highly efficient range. It uses the Atkinson cycle, just like Toyota, but it's optimized even further because it never has to do anything else.
The result is that BYD's engine has a thermal efficiency of over 43%. That is world-class. Toyota's best hybrid engines are around 40 to 41%. That extra 2 or 3% of efficiency adds up. It means less fuel burned for the same amount of energy produced. And because the engine runs less often and only under optimal conditions, it should last longer. Now, I have to be honest here. We do not have 20 years of data on BYD hybrids like we do with Toyota. Toyota has been doing this since 1997. We know a Prius can go 300,000 miles. BYD has only been making this system at scale since 2021, so longevity is still an unknown. But the engineering logic is sound. Less runtime, less wear. So why can Toyota not just copy this? Because BYD owns the patents. BYD has patented the specific combination of a multi-speed electric motor transmission with a dedicated range extender engine and the control logic that decides when to use the engine and when to stay electric. Toyota would have to license that technology from BYD, and that is never going to happen. Toyota could engineer something similar, but they would have to work around the patents, and that takes time and money. And honestly, Toyota is not going to do it because they are heavily invested in the eCVT. They have decades of development. They have supply chains built around it. They have manufacturing optimized for it. Switching to a completely different architecture would cost billions. But here's what this means. BYD has leapfrogged Toyota in one specific area: plug-in hybrid efficiency and electric range. If you want a plug-in hybrid that can do 75 miles on electricity and still get 60 miles per gallon when the battery is empty, BYD is currently the best in the world at that. Toyota is still the king of regular hybrids. The Prius, Camry hybrid, RAV4 hybrid, those are bulletproof, durable, and proven. If you want a car that will last 20 years with minimal maintenance, buy a Toyota. But if you want maximum electric driving and maximum efficiency in a plug-in hybrid, BYD has figured out something Toyota has not, and Toyota cannot legally copy it without paying BYD. Now, I know what you're thinking. This is great, but I cannot buy a BYD in the United States. You're right, BYD does not sell passenger cars in North America yet. They sell buses and commercial vehicles, but not cars. That might change in the next few years, but for now, you cannot walk into a dealer and buy one. But even if you never buy a BYD, this matters, because this technology is going to force Toyota, Honda, Hyundai, and everyone else to rethink how they build plug-in hybrids. If a Chinese company that most Americans have never heard of is beating Toyota on efficiency and electric range, that's a big deal. It means the playing field is shifting. And here's something else. BYD is not just selling these cars in China. They're in Europe, they're in Southeast Asia, they're in South America. They're expanding fast, and in those markets, they're often cheaper than a comparable Toyota. A BYD Chin Plus in China costs less than a Camry hybrid, and it offers more electric range, better fuel economy, and more technology. Toyota still has better build quality in a lot of areas: the interior materials, the fit and finish, the refinement. BYD has improved a lot, but they're not quite at Toyota's level yet. And Toyota has a global service network. If your Camry breaks down anywhere in the world, you can get it fixed. BYD is still building that infrastructure. But the gap is closing fast. And the engineering in this system is legitimately impressive. This is not a copy of Toyota. This is a new approach that in some ways is smarter. So here's what I promised you at the beginning, the leaked document. In early 2023, a presentation from Toyota's internal hybrid development team was shared on a Chinese automotive forum. It was quickly taken down, but not before several people saved copies. The presentation analyzed BYD's system in detail, and the conclusion from Toyota's own engineers was this: BYD's motor primary architecture with dedicated range extender engine and the control logic that decides when to use the engine and when to stay electric achieves superior plug-in hybrid efficiency but requires different manufacturing infrastructure and supply chain partnerships that Toyota does not currently possess. Recommended action: accelerate solid-state battery development to leapfrog current architecture limitations. What does that mean in plain language? Toyota's engineers admitted that BYD's approach works better for plug-in hybrids, but instead of copying it, Toyota is betting on next-generation battery technology to make the whole question irrelevant. They want to build batteries so good that pure electric vehicles make more sense than any hybrid, even BYD's clever one. That tells you everything. Toyota is not dismissing BYD. They're worried enough to change their entire strategy. The company that everyone said was just copying everyone else actually built something that Toyota, the king of hybrids, legally cannot replicate and strategically chose not to compete with directly. Instead, Toyota is jumping ahead to the next technology. That's the real story. If you want to understand where the car industry is really headed, not just where it is today, subscribe. Every car has a story, and this one just changed the game.